this number.
Warning, the following show contains conservative posturing, radical Christian ideas, and may offend pagans, Wiccans, Islamic fundamentalists, and other unenlightened individuals. Callers and guests may be subjected to brash and offensive comments by the hosts and any other type of bullying tactics available. But that's okay. We know why you're here.
This concludes this test of the emergency broadcast system.
Tonight is May 3rd, 2009.
What's up? The phone lines are open.
They're here.
This is Jay Scott.
This is Trent Lackey.
And you're listening to World of the Unexplained. Call us live and speak with us.
Live.
Your paranormal experts here. 877-722-7382. That's 877-SCARE-U2. That's the letter U, in case you were wondering.
Like
anyway.
uniform.
Yeah.
And army talk.
Like the band, U2. Scare U2. So anyway, Trent, good to have you back, man.
I know. Grad school's pretty tough.
It's brutal. It's brutal.
Yeah, it is. Because you have midterms, and I had a massive paper that I had to work with.
How massive are we talking about here?
It was about 17 pages at the end of it. When you count the title page of bibliography, it was 17 pages.
That's awful.
That's a pretty huge paper. I'd been working on it all semester, but it was like, I don't know. You have so many other different projects working on, and it's like, I got to put it together. And that was very time consuming.
Longest paper I ever wrote was like 35 pages.
Yeah.
And that was really long.
Yeah. Well, I believe you.
It was awful. I had to do 2 of those for law school. Your wife's is a dissertation though, man. 200
that's
what?
A book.
262.
Is that the
pages.
final count?
That's awful. That is just horrible. I mean, yeah, I bet it's that thick. That's
Do we
stupid.
get copies of it, D?
No.
Would
we should
want
get copies, man.
Would we want to read it if we got copies? Would we understand it?
Yes.
Oh, we would actually understand. Okay. Wow.
When you know that, sometimes though, like, I don't know, like the 15 seemed a bit much, but like a 12-page paper, you know, depending on how you look at it, it really goes by rather quickly.
Sure.
If you have
anything that's 10 and less is
if you have like sort of an idea,
you can mess with it enough to where it'll
and
work
I'm
out
not
for
even
you.
talking about BSing either. I mean, like really relevant material. I mean, that was my problem. I had to actually edit what I had written because I had too much stuff. You know,
for you,
yeah. Worked out pretty well, but it was like, golly, this thing is going on and on and on and on and on. I need to stop.
Were you here for that show that we did not too long ago where the lady, Dr. Joy Pugh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the last one I was here.
Okay. I wasn't sure. We've only got a couple people we've talked to that think that Prince William is the Antichrist.
I know you don't.
Any feedback on that? Give us a call 877-722-7382. Or if you think Obama's the Antichrist, you can give us a call on that too. I don't know.
I bet we'll get a couple of hits with that.
I'm sure. I mean, I'm kind of thinking he might be. I'm not. I'm kidding. But
I totally don't believe that. But someone out there does, and if you're that
if
person,
you're one of those people, give us a call.
call.
You might change my mind. I don't know. Give me a call. Tell me what you think about it.
Try to convince Scott.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely up to listening.
Oh, certainly. What you got over
Oh,
there?
here we go. A man marries a dog to lift a curse.
Hold on a second. I can't read that, but I'm going to say that's somewhere in India.
It is. It's
Yep.
an ancient Indian sex. What is this? But you won't find this kind of love story between man and beast in the ancient Indian sex manual. It took place during a traditional Hindu ceremony at the temple in southern state of Tamil Nadu. I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Tamil Nadu. Yeah.
The groom in question was 33-year-old Indian farmer named, I'm going to slaughter this, Selvakumar, okay? And he was wed to the female dog named Selvi.
Oh.
He married his four-legged, well, I'm not going to use that word on the radio, to atone for stoning 2 other dogs to death and stringing them up in a tree 15 years ago. That is awful.
What?
You better watch out, new bride. You're next.
Why would you kill a dog by throwing rocks at it and then hang it up in a tree?
Maybe they're after his chickens.
Yeah, but I mean,
he
couldn't
believed
you just shoot him.
He believed this act cursed him. Apparently, he had been suffering ever since. After that, his legs and hands got paralyzed. He lost hearing in one of his ears, and his speech was impaired.
Could have been the water.
Since the doctors couldn't help him, he turned to an astrologer. That's a great idea. Who told him that he was cursed by the spirits of the dogs he had killed, and the only way he could undo this was if he married a dog and lived with it.
How weird.
Let's see what it say about the family members. Oh my gosh. The family members chose a stray female dog who was then bathed and clothed for the wedding occasion.
Oh.
A Hindu priest conducted the ceremony, and there's a wonderful picture there, him and the dog.
Let's see it. I can't see it.
Yeah, scroll back up, let him see that. That's just wonderful, isn't it? The dog's going, please don't stone me, dude. don't stone me.
Stay away from the rocks, pal.
Don't eat me. Please, mister, please don't eat me. For those of you
I'm married to you. I promise I won't chew your shoes.
I can't believe that. I mean, that's
crazy.
That's insane.
Yeah, I don't know. India's a pretty wacky place when it comes to religious practices like that. Like there's another one, for example, where all the rats are sacred. You ever heard that one, Scott?
What's that? Where
the rats are sacred. And
I thought it was just cows.
Well, they have a lot of, depending. Different animals are sacred over there. Cows definitely are universally revered.
I've seen the one you're talking about because they go and they feed the rats daily at the temple because it was inside of an old temple.
Yeah.
And apparently there was one white rat that everyone
was
tried
sacred.
to see. Yeah, that was the sacred.
sacred white rat. This is a patil, one of 50 in the world that suffers from hypertrichosis, a rare genetic condition known as werewolf syndrome. That's sad.
It is.
Now, how many of you out there actually believe? Now, y'all have seen pictures of this stuff where the hair grows all over their face. I mean, covers them up. They look like a werewolf, like a bad version of Wolfman, basically, is what they look like. How many people out there actually believe that the medieval people that wrote about these werewolf stories were talking about these other humans that look like that? I don't buy that.
Well, the condition is so rare.
That's what I'm saying.
And the
the
stories are so widespread that it seems pretty unlikely that, and then of course, I mean, you think about it too. Maybe if I had that disease in medieval Europe, I don't want to be accused of being a witch or some kind of thing and
you
killed.
go hide,
or I go shave, and just repeatedly just.
You'd have to shave all the time.
Well, true, but I mean, to avoid getting burned at the stake or something awful, you.
But if people in that time period were to have a child like that.
Then
they just discarded it or whatever.
Yeah, the child would be. It grew up in the wild. Sure. If it could. I don't know.
Well, yeah, there's some truth to that feral child theory. But
I just don't.
But a feral child with that condition, quite frankly, and I know this sounds cruel, but they probably would just kill it. Especially medieval Europe.
They probably would. Right.
They would be merciful and oh my gosh, it's an evil creature. We don't want people to know that
what brought this on us.
Yeah, and we'll make up a story, and that'll be the end of it.
But I'm just amazed that this is definitely one of the prevailing themes on lycanthropy or werewolfism is to what people in ancient times saw and how you can explain it away scientifically. Now, I just don't find that to be a viable option.
I think the only honestly, I'm more inclined to believe that it being some kind of mental condition, even more so. Even though they may not look like a werewolf. Werewolf, do you hear me say that?
Werewolf.
It don't look like a werewolf. But I mean, there's some people out there, the mind is a pretty amazing instrument. And if it's sort of warped in such a way that guy or that woman suddenly thinks that they're like a dog or an animal.
Yeah, but that still doesn't explain.
They don't look like an animal, but they may act like one.
Well, but that doesn't explain the encounters that people wrote about seeing these hairy creatures that stood on two legs and come on.
Maybe it's a Sasquatch, man.
Could be. I don't know. I think
that's probably. I mean, if we really want to get down to it, I think that's the most realistic.
But I just think Wolfman's cooler than Bigfoot.
That's true, but I mean, you gotta realize, if you believe in Sasquatches or Bigfoots, Yetis, Gigantopithecus.
You know,
if it's running around the woods and you're in medieval Europe and it's like 1200s and it's dark and creepy and you're walking on with your cart and you see something big like that shambling towards you,
you run.
you have to kind of, because this is before the days of people knowing about gorillas, for example, or chimpanzees even. And you're in medieval Europe and you see something like that. Well, the closest thing you can associate to it is either a bear, which it's not, because it doesn't walk or act like a bear, and you've seen a bear. You know? So you have to go to the next big carnivorous animal that's furry, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
You see what I'm saying? I just came up with that theory now. Give us a call. Prove me wrong.
877-SCARE-YOU-TOO. 1-877-SCARE-YOU-TOO. It's toll free in the United States and Canada. And we'll put you on with the big guy, Trent Lackey.
And there was another thing, too. I don't know if I've ever thrown this theory at you, Scott.
Oh, I'm listening.
Okay. It also goes back to the fact, once again, we're going to talk about what was that? Gigantopithecus. The story Werewolf, right? Probably one of my favorite stories ever, and then you tie it in with
probably a terrible movie made by some actor we could both name.
Yeah, it's always an awful movie.
They try it. They keep trying to do it right.
I can never die.
They can't ever do it.
That techno music goes off.
It's awful.
Anyway,
You're talking about the one with my favorite actor?
Who's your? Yeah, that would be the one.
Yeah,
that would be
finally.
The one.
Yeah, you just let it out. We were going to let people sort of Werewolf movie. Is that cartoon one that came out?
You have to understand that D. Clements is a man that knows many bad movies and then likes them. And so we call them D movies. We don't even, just not only out of his name, but just out of the grade that we would give the movie in general. And the funny and bad, sad part about it is I've watched a lot of these films with him, and I've come to the same conclusion that they're horrible, but I like them too.
Yeah.
I.e., what's the movie? The Druid movie that I learned all about Druids on?
Warlock.
Yeah, the Warlock
2.
Yeah, Warlock 2. And now we sat through Warlock 1 and 2, I believe, the same day, didn't we? Yeah, we did. And then I just saw Warlock 3 a few weeks ago.
Did you really?
I did. I told you about this, didn't I? About a month ago, I saw Warlock 3, and it just really didn't do it for me like the other two Warlock movies had. But, you get to a certain place in trilogies or beyond, like with the Leprechaun series, and
that's true. The magic sort of fades away.
What's too far? Leprechaun in the Hood or Leprechaun Return to the Hood?
Was there a Leprechaun Return to the Hood?
I believe so. Check it out. See if there's a Leprechaun Return to the Hood.
Okay, well,
just Google Leprechaun movies.
Let me finish my.
Go ahead.
Anyway.
We're researching while you're talking. Go ahead.
So basically, the whole deal about Beowulf and the Grendel, I think in some ways it's an analogy of, the European humans running into a Sasquatch or a Yeti, except that they lived in Europe at the time, and now they don't, which is an unusual feature. They don't exist there anymore. And maybe the story is not so much an analogy of good versus evil. It's really a rendition of that fight, And Beowulf slays the Grendel, right? Yeah. Kills him off. And Grendel's this big hairy beast that's terrible and awful and lives in the far wild reaches of the world, Sure. And in other words, it pretty much is describing a Sasquatch, really. It's a giant hairy beast that lives far away from humans, and only when the humans start to settle out in those fringe areas do they encounter it. And when they do, they kill it, Or they kill enough of them for them to realize, we gotta stay away from those people,
That's
we're
true.
gonna avoid them because we've ran into them. I'm talking about the Sasquatches here. We've ran into them before, and we don't want anything to do with it. Which would kind of also explain, why, why a lot of the sightings that you hear about, there aren't any violent encounters. There's nothing of the sort. Most of the time they're just trying to get away. Or if they're curious and they're messing with you, that's about the extent of it. But there's no real conflict. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
So I think the Beowulf story it could be, among other things, an analogy between humans interacting with their hairier cousins.
I found the answer. In 1993, the movie Leprechaun came out. Mm-hmm. Followed a year later by Leprechaun 2. Followed a year later in 95 by Leprechaun 3. Followed in 97.
Was that the one where he went to Vegas?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Hang on, I can pull that up real quick. Leprechaun 3. Let's see here. Don't want to give anything away.
Yeah, very, very.
Oh no, it was first considered for release in 3D, but once it started production, it was gone. Yeah, Leprechaun 2, Leprechaun 3, Leprechaun 4 in space. That was in 97. So they waited 2 years between Leprechaun 3 and Leprechaun 4, and then they put him in space. And then Leprechaun, let's see, then we wait all the way until 2000 to do Leprechaun in the Hood, a.k.a. Leprechaun 5. And then in, let's see, and then Leprechaun 6 in 2002 is Leprechaun 6 Back to the Hood.
So there is a Leprechaun 6 Back to the Hood.
And since then, there's been no resurrection of the Leprechaun. Currently, our Warwick Davis, our Leprechaun friend, is in a movie pre-production of Short Fellas, and he just completed his role in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. So that wasn't a bad deal for him.
Not really.
He was actually, before that, he was in the Chronicles of Narnia as Prince Caspian, or not as Prince Caspian.
The little dwarf guy?
Nickabrick.
Yeah, the dwarf.
And he was in Harry Potter Order of the Phoenix as Phileas Flitwick.
Phileas Flitwick.
That's him. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, same thing. He was in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in 2005. Prisoner of Azkaban as a wizard.
Shoot, man, we ought to get him on the show.
So yeah, we should actually. That maybe.
If he wants us,
maybe we can set that up for next week. I could just have a Agent 1/2. What is that? I could actually just have a blast with that.
That would be crazy. We need to look into that.
We should. I'm going to try to do it for next week.
Yeah,
get the guy on here that did all these Leprechaun.
That would
movies.
be awesome.
The problem. Oh, he was in Time Bandits, uncredited as an extra. I did not realize
Time Bandits. That was a great movie. Wow.
He was also in Ewok and Star Tours.
He's also in Return of the Jedi.
And in Return of the Jedi as Wicket. Huh.
Oh.
Amazing what you can find on the internet.
Yeah, pretty much.
Anyway, we're taking your calls, 877-722-7382. That number again, toll free in the U.S. and Canada, 1-877-SCARE-U2, letter U, number 2.
We were talking about Bigfoot, Indian customs, like, not Native American customs, but, Punjabi, Bhagavad Gita Indian customs.
I remember that. The Bhagavad Gita, when we first received a copy in Boston in 1994.
Yes, we did. Mm-hmm. Didn't we receive it from some
hot Hindu chick?
Yes, Hare Krishna kind of girl. She was really wow. She was a good looking lady.
She was.
She thought I was from Texas though, which was kind of weird. But I guess
they don't see many Southerners. They don't see many Southerners in Boston back then. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, you don't really hear. I don't know. I don't hear my accent here, but I hear it when I go away from here.
Sure.
I'm not even going to attempt to do a
Boston accent.
No.
Use guys.
Yeah, you park the car in the yard.
Back the car in the yard.
That's terrible. Yeah, you do a much better one than I do. I'm just going to shut up about
Back the car in the yard next to the bar.
But yeah, she was good looking, and then we got a copy of the Bhagavad Gita.
Well, last week I was trying to discuss this and get some callers, but we couldn't. We were just having people email us. But and the question is this: if you want to ring in on it, do you think that paranormal activity increases or decreases in times of economic hardship?
Interesting.
I think that's a good question.
That is an excellent question.
And the only thing we did discover in our little scuttling around on the internet was that obviously these psychics are picking up a lot of extra cash flow during bad economic times because people want to know what's going to happen.
Right, and people are a little desperate, and they're sort of
and churches get more traffic too.
Right, and they're not really trusting the standard methods for determining things like that.
Sure.
I just realized something though.
What's
Remember, last time I was here, I told a riddle.
Oh, I do remember the riddle. Tell the riddle again, and we'll disclose it at the end of the show, and maybe we can get some callers to call in.
That's true. I just remember
and see what
that.
they think about that. So go ahead and tell the riddle.
Okay. A man walks into a busy, crowded, open-air marketplace full of people. Noon. Sun's out. Everybody's out there. And he promptly looks around and produces a piece of cloth. A white piece of cloth about, I don't know. Maybe we'll just make it about the size of a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Something like that. Those kind of dimensions. Not like a handkerchief. Something bigger than that and rectangular, roughly. And he looks at it and waves it around and then proceeds to set it on fire. And he burns it. And then he drops it on the ground, burning piece of white cloth. No reaction. People just walking by. They just kind of move around the burning piece of cloth. Militia people, not guards, policemen. They walk by and some dude burning something. Okay, And he looks around. He produces a blue piece of cloth. And he waves it around. He promptly begins to burn it right there in the marketplace and drops it right beside the white one. So the smoking remains of burning cloth. The man proceeds to do this with a red piece of cloth, all of them solid colors, red piece of cloth, a yellow piece of cloth, and we'll just say a black piece of cloth. Burns them all. Finally, he no reaction, not one reaction to any of these things. And finally, thank you, D. Finally, he produces a green piece of cloth, same dimensions as everything else, waves it around, promptly sets it on fire. As soon as he does that, people look with shock and horror. They immediately go to him and tell him to stop. And within a minute, the policemen arrive. They put out the fire. They arrest him, and he goes to jail.
And the question is, drum roll please.
Why? Yeah. What did he do?
I was on the right track with this too. I didn't get it right, but I was on the right track with it.
What did he do to not only have the fire put out, but the moment they put out the green piece of cloth, he was arrested. And not only he was sent to jail for a while.
Don't burn green, man.
Yeah.
I was telling you, all these liberals that want you to go green. Well, don't go too green. Yeah. Don't burn it.
So you guys ponder that and
go
think
to jail.
About it. Give us a call if you got an idea.
877-722-7382. That's toll free, guys. 1-877-SCARE-YOU-TOO.
Of course, the thing is, anybody can look it up on the internet, which is kind of. But
they're in their cars riding around though. So
that's true. If they're in their cars riding around, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, sure.
They know the answer. Or they think that they know the answer. What did he do to get arrested? Basically,
you can always visit us on the web as well at worldoftheunexplained.com, and you can check out all of our stuff there. Yeah, that's a good one though. I like that.
I think so.
Email us, worldoftheunexplained@gmail.com.
Many ways to get in contact with us.
Yeah, many. Plethora.
We might even throw in a prize or something.
We may. We have prizes to throw in.
We certainly do.
That's true.
So, you guys
I'd love to go back to the old game that we used to play.
Oh, yeah.
The Wotu Crack House $3 Pyramid. It was awesome. For those of you that are new to the show, the way we used to play this a couple of years ago, actually, we would have people call in, and we would have a ticking clock behind you, and you had 60 seconds. Was it 30 or 60?
It was 60 seconds, yeah.
60 seconds to answer 5 questions, and and I had 5 questions, and what would happen, I would go out of the studio while the 5 questions were, read to the listener. But first, I was in the studio, the 5 questions were, now how did that work? They answered first, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they answered first, so I was outside. Then I would come back in, Trent would come get me, and I would come back, and then I would answer the 5 questions, and we would see who got the most right. And if I won, then you didn't get nothing. But if you won, you got a free book from one of our guests. So it worked out well. It was fun. But
it was, and we kind of alternated week to week.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
so
guys,
ponder that, guys.
We're taking a little break here. You're listening to World of the Unexplained on KFNX News Talk 1100 AM, Phoenix, Arizona. Keep your dial right there and give us a few moments. We'll be right back after this.
You are visiting the semi-autonomous republic of World of the Unexplained. I am Comrade Trent Lackey. Give us a call. Tavarishi. 1-877-722-7382.
Not to mention the fact that
1-877-722 scare you two.
No.
Oh, wait a minute. No. That is terrible.
1-877 scare you two, or 1-877.
Yeah, I guess if you're calling from Antarctica, it might be 722 scare you two.
Who out there thinks Obama's a socialist? Raise your hand. All right.
They can't see us.
I know
radio,
that.
Scott.
That's fine. I can see them.
I can see the beginning of the twist.
Anyway, the point is, now, I invite, if Ron Paul Hunter is listening out there tonight in Raleigh, North Carolina, you need to call in and talk to me, because I want to know what your opinion is of this. Because Ron, you're a Christian guy, and I've heard
and an Obama supporter,
and I've heard this. So I want to go and Google the 100-day Barack Obama picture. Have you heard of this? Basically, it's supposed to be Obama with his arms stretched up like he's being crucified. What? And they were going to unveil this in New York. I don't know. It was in honor of his 100-day, being a president for 100 day. So I don't know. It's like a picture or a painting or something. And it was supposed to be unveiled in New York. I've just heard tell of this, and I haven't seen anything yet. But it might be a picture, it might be a painting. I don't know. It was you might maybe type in crucifixion with that or something like that, or Christ, or yeah. It was supposed to honor that. So Ron, if you're listening tonight, call us up here 877-722-7382 and let us know what you think of that, because I'm curious about that. You being a Christian and seeing what was going on with all that. I think it's crazy.
If we find it. If it was really in existence and the presidency doesn't want it to come out, then, it's possible they took it away.
I heard about it in the mainstream media. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, mainstream media.
I don't mean, when I say mainstream media, I don't mean Fox News.
Okay.
I mean, like, some of the Obama networks and stuff.
Really?
Like MSNBC and... all the Obama channels.
It's a strange idea. That reminds me of that time John Ashcroft was talking in the White House, and there was those statues in the background, but they were like topless or something like that. You remember that?
I do remember.
They had them covered.
I remember.
He had them covered.
I don't remember that.
Oh, okay.
But I remember George Bush as one of the wise men. You remember that? You remember that? I showed you that picture years ago. George Bush was one of the wise men. You don't remember this? It was somebody had done this thing up, and I can't remember. There were other famous people in it too, but George Bush was one of the wise men. You're like, you got to be kidding me!
Wow, he's not even Zoroastrian.
I know. Is that Ron? Is that Ron Paul Hunter? You got on the line?
Yep.
Ron, what's up, man?
Not much, guys. How are you?
I'm glad you're listening. What do you think? Have you heard of this thing?
Well, no, I heard you talking about it, though.
But you haven't heard about it at all.
You're talking about I know, you were talking about some piece of artwork, I guess?
Yeah, there's supposed to be a picture of Barack Obama they were going to unveil in New York, honoring his first 100 days as president, but it was supposed to be a picture of him outstretched like he was on a cross.
Right. Well, that would be probably listed under propaganda from somebody,
We're looking for it now. We haven't been able to find it yet.
Well, remember, I've talked with you guys a lot. The people listening on KNFX in Phoenix may not have caught all the conversations we've had in the past. But we talked a lot about what the environment was like for a president to operate in the first place.
Sure.
I can say with a whole heart, I still support Barack Obama, but I'm not thrilled about some of the people he's appointing. But I think part of what he's doing with his presidency is that he is going to make it. He has the things I see in common with him and with President Bush were that he wants to hear feedback from the citizens of the United States of America in a political way. He wants us to get organized in such a way that we can interact with the government either positively or negatively, and let him know what we like and what we don't like.
Well, he didn't feel that. He didn't feel that way about all those people getting out there and doing the tea parties, though. You heard the audio clip about that, didn't you? Where he just kind of said, "Well, if we can make a serious political conversation, then I'll be able to, talk to you about that. And this stuff right here is just."
Right. Remember, guys, we were talking a lot about how presidency actually operates, and that the president has privileged information that only he can work with. He has to work with strategies with other countries, international strategies, and things like that. And there's a lot of things that the public, I mean, that's why we have a president, is so the president can deal with a lot of things that the public really should be asked to deal with or really can't be asked to deal with. And in installing a lot of the Clinton people, I wasn't happy with that because of the history of the corruption in the Clinton administration. But if he can get them to make the government function, and it was a question of functionality versus non-functionality, then, I have to say he made the best decisions that he could at the time. It still remains to be seen of whether it's going to be a good or a bad presidency. Most people seem to think that the Bush presidency was a bad presidency, and that presidency's legacy isn't going to end right at the end of, even the first 100 days is a long time to see what the full effects of the economic warfare, our involvement in the Middle East, and things like that are going to play out. So I'd still say, yeah, I would advise caution too. I mean, well, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, you know what I think, Ron?
Yeah, I think I'm with you, Ron. I mean,
it's because you voted. It's because you voted for it.
But I mean, there's a certain amount. It has nothing to do about who I voted for. But I mean, there's a certain amount of truth that whatever the president does prior to then, their policies is going to have they're going to have like an aftershock effect into the new presidency. And I don't know if 100 days is really a really good test to prove or disprove whether a president's doing a good job or not.
Well, what do you guys?
It takes more time.
What do you guys? Both of y'all answer this question for me. What do you think about Justice Souter stepping down at 69? Barack Obama's going to have to find a replacement for him in the Supreme Court. What kind of liberal judge you think he's going to throw in there?
We'll work with all kinds of things about that. I feel that he'll probably go with someone, like I saw it on a news broadcast was saying he'll try to get someone with an ideology very close to his, which I guess in a way would be expressing what his ideology, his innermost ideology was if he went with a strategy like that. It's a big and important thing, but when I look at a presidency, I don't look at the functionality of the acts of the presidency. I look at the overall intent of the presidency. And the overall intent of the presidency, as far as he keeps expressing, is to correct past problems in America in a fundamental manner, such that if we put forth an effort, through, as is often quoted, great suffering, we will come forward with a better version of America, one that actually incorporates all the ideals that we have, for one reason or another, shoved off to the side in the past. Whether that can be accomplished, I don't know. But that appears to be the case, as of now.
So you're happy so far, though?
Well, I can't say that. I'm personally happy but apprehensive, man. And most of the people, up here in Raleigh, is the state capital, there's still a bit of apprehension in the air, I guess you might say, because people aren't really satisfied. A lot of people supported Barack Obama, and they expected some change that would actually trickle down or things could be readily apparent. There's still a strong community movement here of Obama supporters and just the community in general. North Carolina's got a tremendously popular sustainable agriculture program going, which is extending down to personal farms. The church that I'm going to has a farm now, or not a farm, but a garden. And there's a lot of neat initiatives. Like there's a place called Research Triangle Institute, which has in past done things such as even weapons research, which is now offering a collective of farms that you can go and buy a share in the farming system, and then there's maybe 20 farms and a couple people that harvest seafood on the coast, and you can get a share of the seafood or a share from the farm, and you order the type of produce that you want and go pick it up once a week. So there's things that are going on, and this is all part of the government. It's like this is all generated with the state and the educational system. So overall, things I think are going good. The country is still strong. The things that I'm not seeing that I really wanted to see by now were more manufacturing generated, like even federally initiated manufacturing, where the federal government would do two things. First off, would open small factories and begin to make things that could be sold within a state that are all consumables.
Why would the federal government do something like that?
It's because it's economic stimulus. We just blew $1 trillion in a gigantic economic stimulus package. That, to me, means no holds barred. You stimulate the economy any way you can get it to work properly. If that
we're printing money, Ron. We're printing money with nothing to back it up.
The second point in that was more contracts to existing manufacturers that are about to go bankrupt. Like, it would be a great time for the federal government to say buy another 10,000 Humvees from General Motors, or order a bunch of stuff that we could use, in my opinion, and I'm going to go back to the old cave, is civil defense for me. I think.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's General Motors anymore. I think it's more like government motors now, isn't it? I mean, the government's taken over everything. First, they took our banks. Now they're taking all of our cars. Where they get taken next? Our healthcare system.
Hang
That's
on a
where they're
second,
going.
Scott.
It's hilarious sometimes, though. You really drive me crazy because it's like history doesn't exist to you. It was always
History doesn't exist to me. It's the Constitution, brother. Where in the Constitution? Where in the Constitution does it say the federal government has a right to go in and take over banks and private corporations?
Okay, it's not taking over banks. The banks failed, and the federal government is required to ensure the depositors' money, if nothing else. I don't like the part about bailing out these giant international and interconnected international institutions any more than you do. But that's not anything I have any control over. In my opinion, probably doesn't matter. The subject was General Motors, and where did not dogging General Motors, but the automotive industry and a lot of the manufacturing industry was created during World War II, man.
Sure, you're right.
Those industries were given giant contracts and kept alive that way. We kept them after World War II because we still needed the capability to defend the country. Even though our weapons have evolved, our mentality about how and why we allocate our resources and the memory of how we allocated national resources appears to be rapidly evaporating, to the point where having a government-sponsored manufacturing program seems like a strange and foreign thing all of a sudden.
Why does the government have to do it? Why don't the states do it?
Because they did it in the first place, Jay. Everything that we're doing was originally done by the government.
No. Everything that we did originally, if we go back to the 1776 and we look around at the colonies and we look at what happened, this was a state organization. The states didn't want the government to get too big.
We're talking about a post-World War II.
You were just asking me if I knew my history, brother. I'm going back to the beginning.
Well, hang on.
You just jumped to another model, which was the colonial model, which was in
the original model.
That was not perfected. The constitutional phase of the colony was not perfected.
Yeah, and the other thing is,
were committed under the Constitution that were bad things, such as slavery and genocide.
Sure.
Well, yeah, I mean that's all well and good.
We're not operating under that model.
We're still operating under that model as far as human rights are concerned, though. Yeah, we are. I think the right against unlawful search and seizure is a pretty important one to me.
Well,
the Fourth Amendment, I think it's a pretty good amendment.
Rights. And
exactly.
That's a different thing. What I'm saying is we've evolved as a country, and if we're talking about how to fix the problems that we have now, we have to recognize that a lot of the major corporations were built up because we had to fight in a war, and we needed the things that we did then, and we put the major things in place, and we used the institutions to develop our way of life. The point about the sustainable agriculture is that institutions are still doing a lot of things, some of which are good things that people really want.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me stop you there for a second, Ron. I mean, and it just came to me. The institutions that we created to manufacture jobs in that model, in the World War II model, it's not the same now because now we have to deal with a global economy, which I'm really not too crazy about. But I mean, there's no way around it. We have to compete globally, and how are we going to do that?
We don't have to.
So you're saying just revert back to isolationism?
Well, not so much isolationism, but we should go with interconnectivity between American counties and states and other already established corporations in order to try to produce as much as we can within. If you want to go outside of the continent, say the North American continent, at the very greatest would be Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. We should try to do as much as we can internally. Yes. That's just common sense. Why should we have to pay to ship something halfway across the world?
No, I totally agree with that. But my problem, and this is the problem that really, there's really no answer to it, really. But we have a fairly high level of development. We pay our workers really well, and we have a lot of programs to make our workers happy. In the manufacturing sector, and we're competing with, foreign hordes for the better term, that don't have any of that stuff. Now how in the world are we going to, that create products that, maybe aren't as extremely good that we make, but they make more of them and they can make them far cheaper. And then you have the issue of
China.
Exactly. Or Southeast Asia,
Well, there you go.
You have
what we're talking about originally.
You have
the happiness of the country with the presidency and the ability of the presidency to deal with and select which issues it chooses to make public.
Okay.
And one of those issues, obviously, are the two words put together, economic and warfare. I tend to believe we're under a state of economic warfare. Thus, I favor protectionism in the form of government subsidies, such as through a program that is proactive, like I advocate constantly.
Yeah, I follow you there. I mean, totally. But You know, like I
That's
said, it's
my version.
It's really difficult to compete with it. Is all I'm saying. You know, it works
impossible.
internally.
We're being wiped out. I
Yeah.
mean, Trent, we're being wiped out. All of the major corporations are going bankrupt, and all the manufacturing jobs are leaving the country. Our manufacturing base is being wiped out.
Yeah, and I think
it's
crucial. I mean, it's absolutely crucial to
part of the-
keep our we're to the point in which we're subcontracting out manufacturing to produce our military equipment and equipment that's crucial to the running of the country.
Part of this goes back though to taxation. It would be Chrysler Daimler instead of Daimler Chrysler if the United States would have given them enough of a tax incentive to stay here instead of move overseas.
Yeah, but I mean, most of the corporations are the ones that get taxed the most anyway.
You're right.
I mean, they get much more taxation because they
they can make the product cheaper by going somewhere else, and we don't punish them for it.
Well, I mean, that's
there
what I'm
go.
saying.
That's
what
a good thing, and a thing that you brought up is the public perception of punishment and guilt, or what is fair. It's something that the government is not responding well to, in my opinion, at this time.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, Ron. I'll give you that.
Yeah, it's just a question you can't really defeat. I mean, I'm all about
but at
us
the
making
same
stuff
time,
here.
I think capitalism would prevail if it were given a chance to do that. I just think that what we need to do is to have some kind of fair tax system put in place.
Yeah, well, I mean, the taxes are just part of it. Remember, I advocate things like keeping taxes and the changing of taxes in an economic simulation model, and then running the simulation and showing it to the public and showing what the outcome of different taxes are. My biggest thing is, if we're going to have to do something, if it's going to have to be big and expensive, we should pick the one thing, like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man of government programs, that we think will do the least damage. And for me, that's a standardized and redundant nationwide civil defense program that's comprehensive enough to effectively become economic stimulus, which would be an umbrella to add things like manufacturing jobs, but for specific equipment, like things you would use to migrate. Like if it was the ancient times, what would you have to use to go to Bethlehem for the census? Things to travel, things to camp with, things to cook food, ways to make gardens. These are all things that could provide jobs for Americans in America. We could make a national food stockpile like we made the nuclear stockpile. I advocate things like fighting hunger in every county in America with the Stop Hunger Now type program, and trying to stomp out hunger like we stamped out malaria.
Yeah, those are pretty noble concepts. But,
I can't get malaria. Did I tell you about that?
No.
I cannot contract malaria. It's the weirdest thing. I have this rare blood disease called thalassemia anemia B, I believe.
Probably immune to Lyme disease too, Jay. I think I heard that on the radio one time. I got said something about the Philippines, and if you got some kind of thing with malaria, you were immune to Lyme disease.
That's crazy.
Awesome.
You can
need to check that out, Ron.
Travel to Central Africa now.
Yeah, I won't get malaria. You can't touch me.
What about
can't touch this.
Sleeping sickness?
I have no idea. No idea. Ron, thanks for calling tonight, man. We appreciate your input. As always, we'll agree to disagree on some things and agree on others. How's that?
Hey, I bless you guys in the name of Jesus. By the way, Trent, what are you getting your doctorate in?
It's not doctorate, but I'm getting my master's in education. Actually, I'm.
Theological education?
No. I'm gonna teach. It's one step closer to getting the doctorate. But right now, I'm gonna work in the public school sector and get some experience there.
Yeah, follow them teaching those heathens. Anyway.
Yeah, well, I want to be on the ground floor. In the front lines of the saving our youth against ignorance,
saving the Utes.
And then
what's a Ute?
Maybe moving on to community college, and then further on down the line. But
I want to get the criminals out of jail, Ron. I got to set them free.
I want to keep them from becoming criminals. How about that, Scott?
That's right. So I don't see them later. Ron, thanks so much for calling tonight, bud.
No problem. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Ron.
Ron's website is www.civilizationcontinuity.org, I believe.
Yep. That's
so
right.
Anyway, Ron
always
Hunter,
insightful things to say.
Always a fun time to pick a fight. You can call us here in the last few minutes of the show at 877-722-7382 if you'd like to pick a fight. We'll be more than happy to. Now you see why it's called conservative paranormal talk, because sometimes it just leads completely off the paranormal and just gets into a rant about who's right and who's wrong.
Yeah, mainly over there.
Yeah, mainly over here. Right. Sure. You're far right.
No, you're not far right, man.
I don't know. Some days I am. It depends. It depends on where we're at.
Well, what's the answer?
Oh yeah. Let's tell
a
the
minute.
tell the riddle again, and then give the answer.
Okay, sure.
But let me intercede part of this that might give a little bit of a clue at one point, if that's okay.
No, I don't want you to
Well,
get
no, it's going to be real funny. Trust me, it will.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, a guy walks into a open air bazaar, and he, full day, and he produces a white cloth that's about the size of a regular sheet of paper, maybe a little bit bigger. And he waves it around and sets it on fire. And nobody pays any attention to him whatsoever, not even the police.
And the reason why is because it was the French flag of surrender, and he can burn it all day long. Anyway, go ahead. That was my bit of comedy.
It's not just the French.
Oh, it must be the French. Who cares?
No.
No, go ahead.
And then
white flag.
Nobody says anything, and then all of a sudden he produces a blue-colored cloth and burns it. A red-colored cloth burns it. Yellow. I don't remember the order exactly, but it's
bunch of different colors.
Solid color pieces of cloth. And
Same size and everything.
Same size and everything. Same material, just different colors. And he sets them on fire one by one by one, and all of a sudden he produces a green piece of cloth, and he sets it on fire. And as soon as he does that, everybody panics. They go over there and they tell him to stop it. What are you doing? Are you crazy? And then all of a sudden the police show up. They put out the fire. They arrest him, and they send him to jail for a long time. Why? What did he do?
And I tried to answer this question correctly, and I got it wrong. I said, well, is there a flag burning issue somewhere or something like that? And I was wrong. What was the answer? I don't remember.
Scott was correct on that part. It was a flag burning issue. He was in the country of Libya.
Here we go.
Libya is the only country in the world that has a solid color flag.
Really?
The color is green.
They're the only country in the world with a solid color.
To my understanding, that it's the only country in the world that has one solid color. There's several.
Is it illegal to burn a flag in Libya?
Yeah.
I mean, do you know that for sure? You're just going with it.
It's a dictatorship under Gaddafi.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it probably is.
A very nationalistic dictatorship.
You burn the flag.
Yeah. And so basically, he was burning the flag in Libya, which has a solid green flag. And don't say you don't ever learn anything here at World of the Unexplained. That's the answer. Maybe I'll come up with another one some other time.
That's good, though. I like that.
I thought it was pretty good.
I enjoyed it. Yeah. I had a good time with it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, guys, we're out of time here almost. And so we just want you to know that we will be back next week and try to get the Leprechaun guy here in the next couple of weeks. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
You can visit us anytime at worldoftheunexplained.com, listen to some old shows. And when I say old, I mean real old, because there's probably about a year worth of archives that have not been posted.
Yeah.
But you can check out some of the older stuff we've done. A lot of good stuff on there. Vampire interviews. We do have a
Interview with a vampire.
Interview with a vampire.
That's right.
Interview with vampire hunters. All kinds of craziness.
Yeah, it's fun.
So this is Jay Scott, your only JD DJ here, and
this is Trent Lackey. We're coming to you from Kernersville, North Carolina, a small town where we talk about big things. The